Now it's a true pleasure and honor to introduce someone who is actually mentoring me these days, Dr. Siddiq, or Dr. Mohammed Hazratsai. We fondly call him Dr. Siddiq, is a leader, the executive director of the Center for Immigrant and Refugee Health. I had the pleasure of meeting him several years ago now, and I never imagined what my professional and personal relationship with him would turn into. He is truly a bridge in the Afghan community, and I've never met someone who's kinder or warmer. So please, warm welcome for Dr. Siddiq.
Thank you. Well, really thrilled to be here. An amazing speeches ahead of me. There was a lot of humanity, wisdom, and humility, all the presenters, amazing presenters. And I feel under pressure, to be honest, like what to say. As a co-host, I deeply appreciate all of you coming here. Some of you traveled from out of state. Many of you I see come from SoCal, Bay Area, including Sacramento region. I know it's not easy to be in-person events these days with the COVID. Everything has gone virtual, so very appreciative of all of you being here. The speakers ahead of me set the stage really well. The things that I'm supposed to talk about. The issue that we are here to talk about, the Afghan and Ukrainian refugees, the importance of it cannot be overstated. It's unprecedented. Potentially after World War II, this many refugees admission to the United States in this window of time in 2021, 2022. About 400,000 people only from 2 countries. And before COVID, that was about 25,000 from around the world. And in fact, during COVID, it dropped to 12,500 people. But now we have almost 500,000 people from 2 countries only. For Afghans, that is 50% of them are estimated to be children. For Ukrainians, about 90% of them women and children. So we're talking basically about 3 things: the conflict, the forced displacement, and school-age children. And research, actually the literature is very clear for more than half a century that this is well documented that the combination of 2, the war and forced displacement, has a significant and overwhelming impact on younger children. And it has the impact now, and depending on what kind of services we provide to these children and families, it may have potentially permanent impact. These visualizations were made by my colleagues, Dr. Jiru and Dr. Shola, and it shows the impact of adversity related to displacement and stress and trauma that comes with these issues that we just talked about. So for adults, the stress and trauma, it impacts everybody, right? But the consequences are comparably small. But when it comes to youth, that is relatively larger. But when it comes to younger children, it's way higher. And the main reason is that our brains are so susceptible when we are young, and we learn music, art, sport, and everything much quicker when we are young. And the other example is that if we learn any language after adolescence, almost always we have accent, right? It demonstrates that how permanent is some of the impacts that take place on younger children. Yeah, so when adversities happen or children endure these challenges over long period of time, what we call pre-migration, during migration, and post-migration. I will be going through that quickly, but that leads to what we call the missing stairs of development. And as we know, because of the survival and adaptation that we have developed during our evolution, these kiddos are developing defense and coping mechanisms around that. To do that, they are then paying less attention to learning, managing emotions, relationships, partnerships, and making good choices. But unfortunately, sometimes here they can be misdiagnosed or mixed up with issues such as ADHD or opposition defiance disorder. These can demonstrate in reactions such as sadness, anger, and guilt and shame. And in the classroom, some of you might see that more as a attention problem or fatigue or being tearful. I know this is a busy slide, but we will make sure to share that with you. In this environment, schools play a very critical role, and we call them safety islands. And the reason is that these children may be going home while their parents are struggling with adjustment, and they may go to a community that they are alien to. That's why the schools need to be not only the place of learning, but also healing, as it was mentioned again and again earlier as well. And need to have the services that are meaningful, culturally responsive, and tailored specifically for this population. And we also have to acknowledge that academic success and integration cannot be attained within the walls of the class or the school. And we have to consider the larger ecosystem that is social services, community services, legal services. Dr. Abdi rightfully mentioned the housing issue. The housing issue is a big issue for all Californians, but so much so for the newly arrived refugees. And some of them, I personally hear the stories, they are paid some $2,000, but $1,800 go to rent. So very, very hard to make a living with the remaining couple of $100s. So the larger ecosystem for the success of the refugees is really crucial, and that requires collaborative efforts between schools, CBOs, government, community organizations, faith-based organizations, and fortunately ARSI and URSI does have broader scope that we are working with that. And what we do at the Center for Immigrant and Refugee Health, at the Public Health Institute, we're making sure that not it's only the funding and money, but also the know-how, the technical expertise, how to deal with a Afghan family, how to talk to an Afghan woman, how to approach an Afghan child, how to approach a Ukrainian family. So that technical expertise is very important for the success of the projects that are implemented. At the same time, making sure that all decisions are made based on data, based on evidence, and we continue to work on research and have coordination and collaboration between different agencies. And today is a good example of that. We are here today to make that bridges, connections, and learning among each other, advocacy and community work. And one thing that's not on the screen, but we continue to work that's in the background, is the sustainability, how to make sure that this project is not only for a year or two, and it's long-term. The needs are long-term, and we want to make sure that the work and partnership with the community is sustainable as well. And your presence today represents a critical step in our journey to bring the community together. And we know that education is not a right, but also a tool, a pathway toward healing, toward success, especially for the forcibly displaced people. And last but not least, I want to acknowledge, recognize, and appreciate, I know presenters that before me, and I want to do that. That comes from my heart. I'm very appreciative as a refugee myself, as an Afghan who knows these families and these children. I really want to thank all of you. You have done a lot of work at a time there wasn't funding, and you're doing day in and day out. The CDSS, Office of Immigrant Youth, has been amazing. And schools, my family, two of my family members back home in Afghanistan were teachers. I know how committed and selfless they work for the community, the local CBOs and our neighbors, all of that. And a refugee story isn't complete without the receiving community. So I deeply appreciate all the humanity that you have brought to this work. I also, very final comments, I want to thank my colleagues at the center. They really work hard to make today's event possible. Sarah, I've been working on this event for the last 4 months or something. So thank you, everybody. I really appreciate it. Have a good rest of your day.